So we're covering intense anxiety that's related to Lyme disease, but not just Lyme disease, all chronic illness or, mold, chronic fatigue syndrome, long COVID, even people that are going through benzodiazepine withdrawal. And it's an intense anxiety that can really dictate your life almost more than the actual chronic illness symptoms itself. So Joe and I are going to talk a little bit about three of our top tricks, tips that we use that help pull out of that and can get you into a better state of regulation, which not only gets rid of the anxiety, but ultimately helps you heal. What happens, guys, when we experience this intense life altering anxiety, and it's not the typical anxiety like people talk about,
Yeah.
it's intense. It can absolutely dictate every single corner of your life. But we're here to tell you guys that there's hope, that it gets better. But you're the medicine. It's not a pill that you're going to take.
Yeah.
It's not some quick exercise that you're going to do. It does require work, but these are some tips and tools that are really going to help you
Yeah.
guys out.
Yeah. And the one thing that Josh and I have seen on our journey dealing with Lyme disease and, chronic illness in general is a level of anxiety, depression, and mental health, related issues, as well as all of the people that we currently work with. It's probably, if you asked people that are struggling, that are chronically ill, anxiety is like one of the number one or two symptoms that they will talk about. And this is, something that we have seen often, and there's a reason for this. A couple reasons for this. So before we kind of go into the tips, I just want to share a little bit. Um, Anxiety and nervous system dysregulation kind of go hand in hand, along with gut health issues and stuff like
Right.
that. And something that we talk about addressing and that we'll go into, um, we'll relate to this with tips. This is kind of part of where all of the anxiety stems from. It's not Lyme disease, it's not long COVID, it's not, the mold or whatever. It is the level of nervous system dysregulations that triggers this profound anxiety where you feel overwhelmed on a daily basis and you feel like your fingers plugged into a socket and you feel like every little thing's going to cause a panic or an anxiety attack. This is a response. It's an incorrect response to that your body is doing when you're dealing with these chronic conditions. But the
Absolutely.
fix for all of them is kind of going to be what we're going to talk about. So we'll dive into a few things here on
Yeah.
this because both of us have struggled mightily with anxiety on our journey and overcome it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And I think that it's important for you guys, and we encourage you guys to stick around to the end because this
yeah,
video could ultimately change your life
yeah.
and save your life if you do the work.
Hmm.
And just know, guys, that we're not giving out medical advice. We have to put that prerequisite there. This is just what's helped us and what we've seen help hundreds and hundreds of people get better.
Yeah,
And we bounce this off of psychologists, some
yeah,
of the best in the industry, which is great to have those guys in our corner. But first, we kind of want to let you guys know, hey, look, we've been in it, and we realize that there's power in our stories. And there was a time that my anxiety was so severe in this, I was completely agoraphobic. And while I had intense symptoms related to Lyme disease, so much of it was nervous system dysregulation. And being transparent, there are some areas that I still deal with anxiety,
yeah.
but there are also areas that I've healed using exactly what we're going to talk about. And those areas that I have not healed is because I'm not willing to use the tools or not willing. It's a brick by brick approach. And Joe and I have always talked about healing publicly, and that's what we've been doing.
Yeah,
So, for me, and I think Joe can echo this, I became completely agoraphobic. I
mm,
couldn't leave the house. I couldn't get in the car. Like, I couldn't go to doctor's appointments. Like, I felt like I was constantly dying and the fear of all these symptoms. And it literally, what it does is it puts you in such a small cage. And next thing you know, you're reaching for this
mm,
antidepressant and this anti anxiety medication. In full transparency, I'm now trying to taper off a benzodiazepine, an anti anxiety medication that I was on for 17 years, and it's creating the same anxiety that I was trying to
yeah,
break. But what's beautiful is as we begin to calm down our nervous system, things begin to change. So my anxiety was very, 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 very severe. The Lyme was bad, but the
mm,
anxiety was just as bad, so much so that I couldn't work, couldn't drive, couldn't do anything.
yeah,
So, we're happy to talk more about that probably on another episode. But I want to let you guys know the first tool that really began to shift things for me on this journey. And it was the acceptance that something catastrophic was not going to happen to me.
yeah, yeah,
So as we believe this, and I'm going to pull up this quote really quick while we're on here because I'm going to read it, and I reference this very, very often, and so much so, like I said, it's tattooed on my leg. Um, when we begin to accept the things that we fear and believe that they won't harm us, there's so much power in that, but not
Yeah.
immediate power. Like if you're sitting there in a full-fledged panic attack and you're trying to accept it, and like these idiots, Joe said, no, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You have to get it when it first starts, and it's more like this. It's coming on, and you know that tension that you feel in your shoulders. You sit back and you surrender, and you remind yourself, all right, I'm going to
Yeah.
feel this. I'm going to feel everything that I'm going through. And I really want you guys to feel this quote. And I should have had it prepared better before the thing. But it is one that had so much impact on my life that it's tattooed on my leg. We've shared it in there in the class and whatnot. And I almost use it as like a mantra at times. So here's what it says: I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. And I want to pause right there. The mind killer. It cripples you, it kills your mind, it stops you from doing anything and everything in your life. It kills your mind. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. Guys, that's strong wording.
Yeah.
Total obliteration, meaning blowing up your entire life. All right. And this is the part where it shifts. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me. He's surrendering to it and allowing it to pass over him. He's not fighting it.
Yeah.
He's not using all these different tactics. All right. He's allowing it to pass over me and through me. That only happens with surrender. All
Hmm.
right. And when it is gone, I will turn my inner eye to see its path where the fear is gone, and there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Why is that? Fear is an illusion, guys.
Yeah, it is.
We have this trauma and this traumatic response to this fear. And maybe we felt like we were going to pass out in Walmart and we had this bad experience where we had to run out. So now we don't go into any stores with the bright lights. You know what I'm talking about, Joe.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Yeah.
we had a bad one in the car where we had to pull over to the side of the road and we pulled the knees to our chest and we had to call 911, or we had to call someone from our family to get us because it felt so overwhelming, right? Or maybe you've just been in a situation that felt so overwhelming that you had to call 911, and you get so frustrated because the hospital says there's nothing wrong with you. You know, your labs come back fine. And while, yes, there is Lyme, yes, there is fibromyalgia, yes, there's chronic fatigue syndrome, yes, there's long COVID, yes, there's mold, you're not psychosomatic. They can't see this anxiety. And if they tell you it's just anxiety, it makes you want to punch them because
Yeah.
it is something intense. But here's the key: they don't have a medication that's going to fix you. They don't
Yep.
have a doctor that's going to be able to do the frame. And there's great therapies that can walk you through exposure and response prevention, but they're pretty brutal.
Yeah.
But this is essentially it: is you're going to expose yourself to the situations that bring that fear. You're going to surrender to it. You're going to remind yourself that as intense as these sensations are that are going through your body, that they will not harm you. And you do that, exposing yourselves to these events that have brought fear over and over and over. And if you
Yep.
need to have someone with you to be in a more controlled environment, that's great. We're not giving mental health advice. We're simply stating what's worked for us and what's worked for hundreds of other people. And what we see is that's the very beginning. What happens is all these alarm systems that you're triggering subconsciously begin to shut off, and all
Yep.
these symptoms and sensations that you're feeling begin to calm down. Now, I do believe that chronic illness does exacerbate your anxiety, and your anxiety exacerbates the chronic illness, and it's one big
So
flare.
it's a
But we
big
have to
vicious
stop.
cycle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have to stop the cycle by accepting that sometimes crappy things happen and we can't change them, and sometimes the sensations are very strong, but you will never ever ever feel better by responding in fear. You've
Yeah.
got to find a way to let go completely. So
Yeah.
surrender and acceptance is the first part of that, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah. And I completely agree. This is the thing is like Josh kind of talked about it. When you're chronically ill and your nervous system is dysregulated, you're more in that fight or flight state.
Outside.
Josh, I can hear you. You're not muted.
We leave that. We leave that. Sorry, guys. Kids were trying.
You're not muted, but that's fine.
I hit
But
the mute button,
we'll
bro.
just leave that. But when your nervous system's stuck more in like the fight or flight state, the sympathetic nervous system state, it's going to be more heightened sensitivity wise to like all sorts of things. So that's why when people go out and they do these things and they feel more anxious, instead of embracing and allowing it, which is what acceptance and surrender is, they fight it, they run from it, they signal, more danger in their body because, that's what it feels like to do when in all reality, the opposite is what actually helps calm and regulate the nervous system and overcome
Right.
anxiety. I have I've talked about it before in several posts on our social media. I talk about a lot of our class. Acceptance and commitment therapy is like the thing that helped me, and learning how to feel the symptoms and sensations of anxiety without fearing them. And so I want to share this because I've shared it with multiple people. I did a post. This book, The Happiness Trap by Russ Harris, is one of the things that helped me successfully overcome anxiety. It was not a quick fix, and it's all about acceptance, like me and Josh are talking about. It's a guide to using acceptance and commitment therapy to overcome, discomfort in your life, anxiety, depression, all of these things. How to rise above. So that is the first thing, guys. If nothing else is going to work, if you're resistant to the fears and the anxiety that come up, number one needs to be acceptance of where you're at, acceptance of not like this is how it's going to be for the rest of my life, but this is how it is for now. And it's more an allowance of these symptoms are here, they're not here to harm me, they're here, as a protective mechanism. Now I have to show my body safety, and that is the second thing I really want to go into. Once you do the acceptance, the second thing is building safety within your body, and we do this multiple ways. So um, the first way is nervous system regulation tools, meditation daily, deep breathing practices, vagus nerve exercises, going out and moving your body, going on slow, long walks. Me and Josh are big on like long walks, doing things like yoga and qigong. So these are some of the staples of like nervous system regulation tools and building that safety back in your body. So once you've gotten through, acceptance, surrender, now it's like, all right, let's build some safety back in our body and show our body that we're safe through some of these tools. A couple of my favorite things, honestly, they're so simple. It's like getting out in nature, deep breathing practices, walking,
Right.
and meditation. I don't know if Josh, if you have a few things that you want to, expand on the safety aspect. Go
Yeah,
for it.
yeah, absolutely, guys. And feeling safe, I think, is super important. And there's not, I always tell a story, and this was a big part of my journey. When we first started our boot camp,
Yeah,
um, our healing boot camp, I had taken a trip out to Zion National Park. It'd been a dream
yeah,
of mine to always go there. And one, getting on the plane, like I didn't know how I was going to do it. We sent pictures to my class of me literally sitting in the airport on the ground,
yeah,
sunglasses on, earbuds in, and just breathing, listening to binaural beats, just
hmm,
trying to let go, not fight it. Not I'm not using these as tools to fight the anxiety, but using them as ways to surrender.
hmm,
And when I got out there, I went out and I tried to do a hike through these canyons, and it wasn't long, but I went down this side of a mountain, but I didn't realize because I was still battling Lyme disease pretty severely at the time. And I look up the mountain and I'm like, dude, there's no way that I can climb that back up.
yeah,
And I start walking through like the canyon walls, and I didn't have cell phone service. The parking lot's like a mile away and it's up a mountain, and I'm not knowing how I'm going to get back there because I'm still weak and I'm still struggling. And I absolutely freak out and lose my mind. And there in the middle of the desert, I drop to my knees in the sand. And for me, spirituality is huge. My faith is huge. But in that moment, I realized that, finding something to touch and to feel was so big. So I began in a full blown panic attack with my knees to my chest in the middle of the middle of Zion National Park. It was like a desert park, sitting on the ground with my wife and my friend looking at me strange. And I'm stacking rocks, and I noticed that I was feeling the texture of the rock. I was putting my hands in the stand. I was being present, and I reminded myself that I am the safe place, regardless of where I'm at,
hmm,
regardless of what I'm doing, whether I'm on a plane, whether I'm in the middle of the desert, having to hike up a mountain and no cell phone service, that I am safe regardless of where I'm at. And I had to believe it. But the way that I achieved that is by taking in the beauty of my surroundings. And Joe and I are super big in getting into nature. And when you're in nature and you're grounded with nature, there's so much science that supports it because we get away from it. But I felt the texture of the rocks. I felt the grains of the sand. I
Yeah.
felt the cold air, even though I was in the desert, on my face. And I just sat there and I'm like, I surrender. I give up. And for me, I said, I give it to you, God, and I let go. And I'm like, I'm safe regardless of where I'm at. And that moment was a defining moment because we were saying we have to feel safe. Well, there's no pill or doctor that's going to make you feel that way. It's
Yeah.
only you. And
That's it.
I went back up that side of the mountain step by step. I'd take 3 steps. I'd sit down, took 3 steps, and I got in the van and I realized what I did. But here's the thing. I patted myself on the back, realizing, look, dude, you did what you didn't think you could. And while this might sound crazy to other people, I'm not putting that judgment on myself. You're the safe place. You're the safe person. Like, you're going to be all right. Everything's going to be
Hmm.
okay when you feel those sensations. And I felt them, all the sensations that we feel. Couldn't breathe, heart racing, palpitations, felt like I was going to pass out, didn't feel connected. The derealization, the depersonalization was all there. And it was like in my face so loud, and I had to let go. And I had
Yep.
to remind myself that regardless of where I'm at, what I'm doing, it's not rushing back to my couch. It's not
Yeah.
rushing back to my car, that
Exactly.
I am safe, that I'm the safe place. So
Yeah.
little more elaborated, but
Yeah, no, it's recognizing that these symptoms that we experience with nervous system dysregulation, with anxiety, are not rare and they're not dangerous. Is in your when you're in the middle of an anxiety attack or a panic attack, it feels like everything is like about to. This is the end of the world, and it's reminding yourself, even in the midst of that, that like it's not dangerous. I'm safe right now, even though I feel this and I feel unsafe. It's like coming back to that moment of safety and allowing the symptoms to be there, not fighting them, not resisting them, not running away from them. It's okay. These symptoms are here. I feel so uncomfortable right now, or whatever, but these symptoms are not dangerous. As
yeah,
much as I feel in danger right now, I am my safe
you're not
place.
going to die.
I'm not going to die. Exactly. And I think, you would kind of hit on it there, Josh. I wanted to talk about the next thing that is honestly one of the biggest things for all of this. When you were in that desert and you're sitting there and you're touching the rocks and you're just feeling what is there. It's basically being present,
Yeah,
it's coming back to the present moment. Often anxiety lives in the future. Sometimes it's in the past because you kind of like relate to like past events and whatnot. But often it's like when that anxiety hits or whatever, you're like, oh my God, is this going to last forever? Is this going to last, for the rest of the days? Is it going to last for a week? Oh my God, like I feel like I can't I'm never going to get out of this. What if I'm stuck like this? And often symptoms of anxiety when you're chronically ill, they exist more in the future because like if you're dealing with chronic Lyme, it's like, well, how long am I going to be dealing with this symptom? Whether it's a symptom of anxiety or whether it's pain, fatigue, DPDR, you're thinking in the future like, man, am I going to be stuck like this? Even if it's not consciously, it's kind of an unconscious pattern of like projecting that into the future. And that's where anxiety lives always. Even if you feel terrible right now, like I've felt like so sick so many times where the symptoms are at a 10, all of them, the physical, mental, cognitive. And I'm sure you've felt like this too, Josh.
yeah,
And one of the only things that helps in those moments, come back to the present moment. If I
absolutely.
find myself going too far into the future, thinking about what if this lasts or whatever. No, 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 no. I'm fine right now, even though I'm dealing with these uncomfortable symptoms right now. I'm safe right now. There's no immediate threat, no danger. There's no wild animal chasing me. I don't need to, run away from a natural disaster. Like you're safe right now. And
Yeah,
this is where presence can build that safety back into your body. Just looking around, observing, getting in nature, doing these little things that can help, um, build that safety and presence is key. Is
yeah.
presence is so key for it all. So
Absolutely. And
yeah,
I Joe was saying, guys, the last one is really important. And I think that a lot of people have problems with it. And you're gonna be like, oh, well, this does do this stuff. Do it for
yeah,
3 months. What do you have to lose? And watch your life change. So the last one is finding a distraction or having
Yeah.
a purpose.
Hmm.
And what happens is when we get obviously, guys, listen, we're not saying that the Lyme symptoms, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, whatever your chronic illness is, we're not saying that part exists. We're addressing the anxiety, which is causing the nervous system
Yeah.
dysregulation that's making your chronic illness worse. And I would encourage you, we don't have time to get in that, but I mean, I would encourage you to really research how a dysregulated nervous system and how the cortisol and adrenaline is really keeping you sick. Like
Yep. Hmm.
it's compromising your immune system. It's messing with your digestion. All your neurotransmitters are out of whack,
Yeah.
and your hormones are out of balance, and all these different things happen. But what's cool is when we begin to find a distraction from what we're doing. It helps us get out of the house. And guys, I'm still talking, so listen to me. Joe and I are very casual. I'm plugging in my laptop because it's
That's all good.
live while we're recording.
Enjoy
But
it.
yeah, no. So, guys, when you're stuck in the house, and there's a lot of you that maybe are experiencing agoraphobia, and maybe that's where you're at. And we have people in our class that's exactly where they're at. They can't
Hmm.
leave their house. They can't get out. They can't do the things that they want, and they forgot what it's like to dream. And what we encourage people is to write down a dream. I have two vision boards here, and I write down my goals all the time.
Hmm.
And for one of ours was to help other people, to help people heal. Like everything that we're doing right now is what helped us get out of our anxiety and helped us start healing from chronic illness. And for me, I wasn't driving, I wasn't doing any of that. So I was like, what would really help me? What is it that I've dreamed of? What is a goal or a hobby that I can start pursuing, that as I get out, instead of my mind automatically taking the interstate to straight anxiety, oh my gosh, you're going to die, the DPDR is so bad, all these symptoms are so bad, to I'm excited to do this. Now you're still going to feel the pull to go towards the interstate, but
Yeah.
there's some excitement that's also pulling you to go this way and to take the back road and to start exploring things. So for me, it was coaching basketball. And, I was a mess before every single game. I'm in the bathroom, yakking like physically. And I wasn't surrendering. I was fighting it at that point. But now it's not an issue. So it's finding that thing. And maybe for you, it's going out and getting a new cross stitch, or maybe it's going to an alpaca farm and figuring out how you're going to start your alpaca farm in Montana. And I'm being silly, but having a dream outside of your illness and outside of your anxiety is what gets you out. So if you're not
Yeah.
leaving the house much, or you're not participating in life because of the anxiety and because of the symptoms there. And guys, sometimes, and I know that you guys as people that have chronic illness, we all think that we're detectives and we all have the answers. There's a lot of you guys that can't differentiate between your anxiety symptoms and your actual physical symptoms from
Yeah.
your
Yep.
chronic illness. That's going to piss people off,
Yep.
but I
They
couldn't
overlap.
I
Yeah.
I couldn't tell the difference between benzodiazepine withdrawal, anxiety, what's Lyme, babesia, Bartonella, mold. Are they spraying in the skies today? Like, did I eat something bad? And I let go of that.
Yep.
And I would wake up in the morning, and Joe and I would set goals, and we'd have a dream, and we wrote down things that we wanted to follow. And then I started getting out of the house and slowly pursuing those. And are you going to feel uncomfortable doing it? Yes, but it serves as a beautiful distraction, because when you
Yep.
wake up in the morning and you begin to visualize yourself doing something other than being an anxious, sick person, having a purpose, having a dream, having a hobby, you're going to be less likely to wake up anxious. And the more that you do that, and the more that you actually visualize yourself, whether it's through meditation, through it's through
Yes.
affirmations, doing that, the easier it's going to get. Your consistency is what's going to pay off. So for instance, let's say maybe you want to start going to a jazz club, but you've been so anxious to get out in public because you don't know what people are going to think of you. You were going to pass out, the
Yep.
DPR, blah 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 blah. But you start going out, next thing you know, dude, you're grooving. Like, we got people in our class that didn't get out of the house, and now they're like playing instruments in
Yeah. They're
bands.
just living their lives now.
Yeah,
They're good.
they play with the bumpin' uglies, and just so many like cool experiences when you decide to just step out. But it's if you're the mindset is, I'm just gonna step out, I'm gonna take my sword and I'm gonna get to Walmart and I'm gonna get to the back of the store. What's the purpose? Like, just to
Yeah.
go to Walmart, like to participate
No,
in
we
that
gotta have we gotta have dreams and goals in lives, guys.
Right.
Yeah.
So when it's like, all right, I'm gonna go to Walmart to get a ball of yarn because I want to knit a sweater
Yeah.
for my alpaca. whatever it is that you want to do. It's having those goals, or maybe, you want to go to a concert because you haven't been in years, and you're getting the tickets to the concert, and you're fearful, and you're doing it anyway. It's participating in life and finding goal, or setting goals, and then
Yeah.
having hobbies outside of it. When you guys get sick, we stop life, and life becomes an obsession of, how do I stop my anxiety, and how do I feel better, and how do I do this, and how do I do that, and all this noise. Instead, dude, I want to go see Incubus, and maybe you think Incubus sucks, and you want to go see 311, or whatever, or
Yeah.
maybe you want to go see a movie, or you want to take someone out on a date, or maybe you think that all that's impossible, and it's just as something as
Hmm.
simple as going and sitting by the lake. And you're doing that while you strum a guitar or you play a handpan. Guys, you've got to choose to live life, and you've got to choose to be able to get out of your house. And that's the last part of the tool, or the third one is find something that you love. And it's not going to be instant for all of you guys. And maybe some of you guys is. You're going to
Yeah.
have to do multiple things. It took me picking up my guitar and a handpan and coaching basketball and doing all these different things and freaking out and panicking multiple times,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
using the tools we talked about before, and then
Mhm.
pursuing these. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm excited to go do X, Y, or Z, instead of I'm going to sit in bed and panic all day and doom scroll, and that's going to be the result of my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
So, guys, here are three practical tips that you guys can
Hmm.
begin to implement. And sorry, my kids are screaming, into your life, that can really begin to
Are you
shift the
kids with
anxiety.
crayons?
Yeah, and once you shift the anxiety, that's when you begin to shift healing from chronic illness, Joe.
Yeah, no, and I just want to echo that real quick, and like Josh said, I mean, none of this is that we're telling you is easy. There's something I always tell people in our class, and that I've embraced myself fully is you have to get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable, with feeling the uncomfortable sensations, but also doing some uncomfortable things outside of your house. Healing does not happen in the four walls of your house, even if you're dealing with crippling anxiety. Trust me, I have been there. Josh has been there, where the anxiety is crippling you, and you can sit there and wait around until you feel better, until you leave. It's not going to happen. You have to kind of show your body safety through multiple means. We talked about safety being one of them. The other one is getting out of your house, doing things that you love to do, beginning to live again, even with the symptoms and sensations while they're there, showing that your body are safe. And you can do this without the need for medications. I mean, again, listen to your doctor, but I've dealt with anxiety, panic, depression, severe DPDR, and any medication I tried to take would just make things worse. So I couldn't even go down that path. I've healed, through these means and some other, little nuances that we teach in our class. I also, focus on gut health, which is part of it. But simply by implementing some of these things that we talked about, you can like live your life, enjoy your life while you are healing from chronic illness and anxiety. And it is actually kind of imperative that you do some of these things because that's actually the way you heal, guys.
Right.
And this is our perspective. If it doesn't resonate with you, you don't have to follow it. This is what we've seen with ourselves and what we've seen with a lot of other people that we've worked with. So
And clinically, like if you guys were to study it, this is the stuff that works.
yeah,
We bounce
it is.
all this. We're fortunate enough to have a psychologist in our class. It's been a
Yeah,
psychologist for 30 years, and we bounced all this. And he's like, it's exactly right. He's like,
yeah,
I just have to show up and do the work. And
yeah,
it's okay.
exactly.
Everybody we see do the work does get better. And like I said, guys, and we'll say this in closing, um, if you begin to heal your anxiety, if you begin to calm and your nervous system and get it regulated, and you stop dumping that cortisol and adrenaline into your bloodstream, you're going to
Lyme
notice
works.
that you're going to start getting better pretty quickly.
Yep.
And it's still going to go like this because you're going to have triggers. All right, look at the rhythm. Look at the rhythm. I was hoping Joe would carry it over into his screen, but anyway, um, you know, it's an up and down journey, and I'd be lying if I told you I was 100% better. I still have my days, but
Yeah,
oh my
we both
gosh,
are still healing. Yeah.
yeah, the days of being stuck on my couch and, locked in my basement and not being able to talk to anybody. I mean, I don't really have those days anymore.
No, yeah.
And I'm thankful for that, guys. And this is a great thing. Joe and I constantly want to put out free information that helps you guys heal. But if you feel like you do need additional support, if you're out there and you're struggling, you're like, man, I can't do this alone. What these guys say vibes with me. We love helping people out. It's what we've done. We created an incredible community that's based around helping each other. And we have what we call our
Mind Body Boot Camp.
Mind Body Boot Camp.
Yeah.
And it's basically you come in, Joe and I do a live twice a week. We answer questions. It's a living, breathing community. You'll be assigned an accountability partner. You'll get access to our No BS healing guide. And in this, we heal as a group, and you hear success stories and wins all week
every
long from
week.
people doing
Yeah.
the same exact thing and people that are getting better. So if you're out there and you're struggling and you're looking for a cost effective solution, guys, it's only $88 a month. And if I had this information before, it would have absolutely changed my life. So if you're interested, the link will be down in the description below. You're more than welcome to set up a free 15-minute consult with Joe or I, where we can explain a little bit more in depth and answer any questions that you may have. And if not, guys, still at least hit the subscribe button and show us some love. We want to make sure that we're putting out content that's actually helping people get better, not putting people through paywalls and trying to do it. Listen, we'll give you guys all the answers, and we're not gatekeeping on any secrets that have helped us get better and countless others. We're just saying if you need the additional support, guys, our boot camp is definitely a place for that. So we
Mm,
appreciate you guys watching,
appreciate
and
it, guys.
yeah.
Cool.